Welcome everyone, my name is Matt, and today we'll be continuing development on our Elder Scrolls add-on called Simple Clock. In the last videos, we enabled the use of saved variables and provided functionality for showing the clock, hiding the clock, giving the user a choice of game-provided fonts, font size, and font color. In this video, we're going to provide language support, called language localization, for English and French. Of course, these instructions may be adapted for any of the officially supported languages by ESO. On y va! We need to provide localization in two ways. One for our usage of os.date, which is how we provide an in-game provided current date and time, and our hard-coded strings, which we must translate ourselves. Let's start by providing support for os.date. To switch between client languages, do script d, and in parentheses set cvar, in parentheses, and in quotes, language.to, comma, and in quotes, fr, and parentheses, and parentheses. Set cvar stands for set client variable. This will change your client's default language to French. Looking at our clock, it looks like the game automatically translates the day and month. But we have a problem. Décembre isn't supported because it has a special character, E with accent aigu. To my frustration, it seems that ESO does not support UTF-8 characters above the UTF code 127 for a variety of reasons. Interestingly, the French client language supports these special chars with no problem in the quest dialog, menus, etc. Therefore, I believe that the output of os.date has an encoding that is different than what the game natively supports. Nonetheless, we must support these special characters. They are important in French. A bit of background before we begin. As of Lua 5.3, Lua has implemented the UTF-8 library as a standard library. ESO runs on Lua 5.1, but has implemented the UTF-8 library as it stands in Lua 5.3. Frustratingly, the functionality that is provided by the library isn't available to add-on developers. I have done some testing on finding special char codes greater than 127, and the game actually crashes if you do that. I invite you to try it yourself in the chat box using the /script command. I did find a workaround, which is not pretty. ESO does support the UTF-8 / representation of special characters. So the plan is to convert the generated os.date string to its byte representation and represent it in its / representation. If the byte representation is equal to the UTF-8 code, we inject the / notation of the special char into the new string that we build dynamically. It will make more sense as we code it together. I promise. So let's start by creating a new function called iterate characters that takes the past os.date result. Locally, let's name it just str. Then, we're going to need a counting variable, which I called I, and an empty string that we're going to populate later, called constructed_str. Let's create a while loop with the conditional statement I is less than or equal to $str, which is the length of the past string. Inside the loop, let's get the UTF-8 digit representation of each character by typing local char code equals string.byte, and in parentheses str, comma, I, which will get the byte representation at place I in string str. Now, let's determine how many bytes the representation takes up. The default is 1 byte. If the char code is greater than or equal to 192 and less than 224, it's 2 bytes. Greater than or equal to 224 and less than 240 is 3 bytes. And I think that's all we'll need. Now the ugly part. I have manually checked to see if the current code is the digit representation of a special character. If it is, I have set the variable UTF-8 char to the / notation of the special char so the game can recognize it. Rinse and repeat for all other chars that are not in the English alphabet. If you are doing a translation for a language that has a lot of special characters, I would highly recommend another approach, but this will do for now. Finally, if we don't have any special characters, then just set the UTF-8 char variable to the I, I+1 char size -1 substring, which converts the byte representation back to the human readable UTF-8. Then all we have to do is append the UTF-8 char to the constructed _str variable and increment I. After the while loop is over, then we return constructed _str. Let's test again by saving our file and reloading our UI using the /reload UI command in game. Looks like everything is working. So, you may be asking, Matt, doesn't this iterate through the characters every second? Yes, unfortunately, it does. Thankfully, the computational load is small because the string it is iterating over is small, but this could be further optimized by only doing iterate characters when the language is set to French. I am of the opinion, until this is fixed by Zenimax, which I believe that they're in no rush to do, that due to the unreliability of what could be represented by os.date, we need to iterate over each character just in case. However, I am open to any ideas that you may have, and please share them in the comments. Now let's get to the easier part, the localization of the strings that we have provided to the add-on. If you notice in our menu, we're still using the English word for visible, font, font size, and font color, and their respective tooltips. Let's use the same functionality that os.date tried to use, using the in-game recognition of language. To do this, go into your add-on manifest, which is the text file, and add the lines lang/en.lua and lang/$ and in parentheses language.lua. Then create a folder called lang at the root of your add-on structure. In the lang folder, create an en.lua and an fr.lua file. Setting up your file structure and app manifest like this sets the default language to English and handles any other language that exists in the lang folder using the $language variable provided by the game. The officially supported languages are DE for German, EN for English, ES for Spanish, FR for French, RU for Russian, JP for Japanese, which is only available in the special ESO Japanese client, and ZH for Chinese. Other unofficial translations exist, but handling these languages might be different or incomplete. Please consult their documentation for more information. Links to these projects can be found on the ESO UI Wikipedia under the Localization page. Now we have en.lua and fr.lua, let's talk about what's going to happen. We're going to create a table called localization_strings. In it, we're going to create a key-value pair where the key will be some ID to identify the string. The value will be the translation of the string in that language. Then, we'll iterate through the table and register the string with the global variable using zo_create_string_id, and then adding them to the game using safe_add_version, which is a function provided by Zenimax. Let's start by creating the English translation first. In en.lua, create the localization_strings table. For the first value, let's put simple clock underscore font equals, and in quotes, font. It is recommended to have some sort of identifier before each ID. Do not use SI as your identifier because that's the identifier that the game uses. You don't want to overwrite those values. I chose simple clock as my identifier. It's a bit wordy, but I know that the strings are coming from my add-on. Then, let's add that for loop to iterate over all the values in the table. Write for string ID, comma string value in pairs, and in parentheses localization strings, do, enter, zo_create string ID, in parentheses string ID string value, which registers your string within the game. And on the next line, safe add version, in parentheses, string ID, comma 1. And finally, end. Safe add version is a method which allows you to provide different versions of strings and add it into the game. Now, we're just using it to add strings to the game, so we're going to hardcode that one argument, which could be used as the version number. Now, let's go into fr.lua and copy and paste the same code into that file. Instead of having font as the value in the table, the word for font in French is police. Let's change that and save the file. Now, let's go into simpleclock.lua. Instead of a hard-coded string, we need to use the function getString to get the string from the lang file. The game processes this automatically. Let's find where we're defining the name for the font field in the menu and write getString and pass the ID of the string from the localization_string table. In this case, we would be using simpleclock_font. Save the file, and let's jump back into the game. We're still in French, so let's reload the UI and see if the menu label updated to our French translation. And it looks like it has. Now let's check the English translation by doing that setcvar command, and instead of fr, let's provide en for English. It looks like it's working now. Now rinse and repeat for the other strings and tooltips. Define it in en.lua and fr.lua, and remember to use getString in the simpleclock.lua file for any hard-coded strings. Here's what I ended up with for en.lua and fr.lua if you're following along. Congratulations! You've just enabled localization in your add-on, and you can say that you have language support for French. Although this is a small add-on, much bigger add-ons do the same process that we've described here. Thank you so much for giving me your time. If you got any tips, tricks, or information from this video, I would sincerely appreciate if you could give me a like and consider subscribing. The overwhelmingly positive comments on the last video and questions asking when the next video in the series was going to be released was a direct causation for the creation of this video. I hope to see you in game. Until next time.